Here we are, the Free Roam Podcast, rocking and rolling all day.
Oh, I had this whole trip planned to Japan in November. It's been delayed. It's not happening.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, we really know how to time it.
November now.
Like
Lego Horizon.
Lego Horizon, play it 15 times over a single day. We know how to time this, guys. For anybody not aware, breaking news, literally
15 minutes
ago. Like, we were originally going to start the show 15 minutes ago, and then this all happened. Ubisoft has released an update to its financial targets fiscal year 2024 to 2025. For those of you watching, I'll throw this on screen right here. Basically, this is what happens when a corporation is like in emergency mode. They will have a meeting of the board of directors, and they will talk about something if something like majorly missed. So like, you remember when Embracer dropped out of that $2 billion investing chunk from Saudi Arabia? Well, they didn't drop out. Saudi Arabia dropped out. But when they lost that money, there was one of these where they just frantically were like, okay, the building's on fire. Let's figure out what we're doing. And it's really simple. I'll just read this off, then we'll get into the state of play and all of that stuff. But what they say is Paris, September 25th, 2024. Following a meeting of its board of directors, Ubisoft updates its financial targets for fiscal year 24 to 25. The company now expects net bookings of around 1.95 billion euros and around break-even non-IFRS operating income and free cash flow. The company now targets net bookings for the second quarter of the fiscal year to stand at around 350 to 370 million. The revised targets are mainly a reflection of decisions taken for AC Shadows and the softer than expected launch for Star Wars Outlaws. Listening to players' feedback and as an illustration of our player-centric approach, the following important decisions relative to AC Shadows have been taken. Are you guys ready for this? AC Shadows will now release on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025.
Call your wife. It's over.
It's over.
Call your girlfriend.
She'll understand.
No more dates.
Yep. They'll understand, I'm sure. While the game is feature complete, the learnings from the Star Wars Outlaws release led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. This will enable the biggest entry in the franchise to fully deliver on its ambition, notably by fulfilling the promise of our dual protagonist adventure, with Nawe and Yasuke bringing two very different gameplay styles. Second point, we are departing, this is big, we are departing from the traditional season pass model. All players will be able to enjoy the game at the same time on launch day, February 14th, and those who pre-order the game will be granted the first expansion for free instead of doing like 3-day early access, blah, 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 like they had done before. And this also is, I think, a big W. The game will mark the return of our new releases on Steam day one. No exclusive to Ubisoft, whatever launcher. And then they talk about some details of what led to this decision, trying to improve efficiencies. They're launching a review aimed at improving our execution, notably this player-centric approach, accelerating strategic path towards a higher performing model to benefit our stakeholder and shareholders. And then lastly, they say, finally, let me address some of the polarized comments around Ubisoft lately. I want to reaffirm that we are an entertainment-first company, creating games for the broadest possible audience, and our goal is not to push any specific agenda. We remain committed to creating games for our fans and players that everyone can enjoy. Wow. What are your thoughts, Mr. Joel Raptor?
I mean, we were, of course, like sometimes when you go on a podcast and talk about the gaming news, and you sometimes think, I'm probably missing something, right? And you discuss things, and yeah, but to really see the impact, like we've been like speculating about Outlaws not doing well, and you hear it everywhere, and you're like, is it really that bad? But this shows you how bad the situation is. Like, we heard before that game came out, how they spent the biggest marketing budget ever for a Ubisoft title on that game, and then to get the PlayStation Store sales data and it to be number 5 in the US, where Star Wars is huge, getting outsold by GTA 5. Like, sure, GTA 5 is big, but that game is super old. Like, a new Star Wars game should be number 1. And we heard like from certain like investors and analysts, they lowered their projection. They thought 7.5 million before the end of March. They reversed it down to 5.5 million. But I think they are not even close to reaching that, with people actually like looking at the data from GamesIndustry.biz saying that the game sold like around the 800,000 units in August. And yeah, that's really bad for, again, a Star Wars game where they have to pay Disney as well. So I think on one end it's good that they are immediately applying those learnings, but it is kind of wild how fast this can get. And I'm just really curious what they saw in, like, I think really going into the Outlaws launch, they were caught by surprise. Like, of course, we had some people on the internet saying, or like, yeah, we had many comments where it's like, oh, it doesn't look that great. Internally, though, their metrics were probably looking better than what turned out to be. And maybe they were like, damn, we cannot trust our metrics that are saying the same thing about Shadows. Let's look at that again. And I really think, and that is good for us consumers as well, that they are rethinking some strategies that you do when you are on top. Like, when you make a ton of money, when you have Valhalla coming out, you can be like, oh, people are going to come to us. So Steam, you'll be later, and we will get the Epic Game Store money, and we will get our Uplay money, because, of course, if people buy the game on their own launcher, they get like 100% of the revenue. Don't have to split anything with Steam. But now they just want you to play the game, please. So they're coming back to Steam. Maybe the traditional season pass model is not working anymore. Maybe they're seeing, okay, yeah, people are not enticed enough anymore to go out and spend $40 extra for 2 expansions that will drop. We don't know when, and probably you're not into the game then anymore. Like, Ubisoft has always like hold on to their model that worked so well for a long time, and super afraid to make choices, do different things while the industry has moved forward. Like, it's way more common now that you get an expansion for free, or that you don't announce an expansion, and then all of a sudden, like Elden Ring, bam, it's here. Or Wukong, people are like, oh, I want more content to play. Instead of, why are they announcing the season pass before the game is out? Let me first just play the game. Why do I have to watch a video for a DLC? Like, so I really think they're looking at their whole model and how, yeah, they've been doing things for the longest time. And if that is not working with a Star Wars game, then it probably won't work maybe for other titles. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. And giving that first expansion away for free is, I think, for them, like, that was, of course, always the issue. Like, also with Valhalla, that game was so big. When people reached the first expansion, like when that came out, people were like, I have not even finished the main game. Why would I care about the expansion? Players' numbers dropped off. For a normal single-player game, that doesn't matter, but they want this to be a live service. They want you, if you are into Assassin's Creed Shadows, to play for many years. So then to give the first expansion away for free might be a way for them to see, okay, maybe more people will play it. What if we give more expansions away for free? Maybe they will look at the metrics, and then we sell more microtransactions. Oh, maybe that's... So I really think they're looking at all their tactics that they've been using for the years and just trying all kinds of new things, because clearly what they're doing now is not working. And it's kind of sad that now impacts the launch of this game, because especially, like, if the holiday season was crowded, I would not have really mind. But now I'm looking at November and I'm like, ooh. And then you see February, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, that Bloom and Rage game from Donut, the sort of Life is Strange Spirit successor, Avowed. And now Assassin's Creed Shadows as well.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, for the last week, there's been reporting out the wazoo of all sorts of weird stuff. You know, people are like saying that previews have been moved or delayed. Then people are saying that they've done this and they've done that, and that there's Tokyo Game Show they pulled out of that. That was the other one. And it was just like these decisions aren't made casually. You know, these decisions represent millions of dollars. So what is going on that would force this? And now we see a delay. And I mean, frankly, I cannot fathom a world in which there is like like the game was broken a week ago and then they just realized and were like, we got to delay it. What I'm taking away from this, and Joe Raptor, I'm not sure if you agree, but what I'm taking away from this is that they specifically pair this announcement of these decisions with Shadows with quote unquote learnings from Star Wars Outlaws. And I think that basically, like you said, they looked at Outlaws and everything about it seems to have not worked. So they're realizing, okay, spending a lot of money on marketing, that does not necessarily mean that we're going to have better performance. So maybe we don't need to try that hard. Maybe if we spend less money on marketing, maybe we can see improved margins. Even if we're releasing on Steam, yeah, Steam has taken 30%, but if we didn't spend $100 million on marketing, we're still pretty much where we would have been, because clearly more marketing spend doesn't result in higher payouts and higher engagement. Getting rid of the early access. The early access thing works for a game like GTA 6, where everybody wants to play it day one because nobody wants spoilers, nobody wants to miss out. There's a real FOMO there. With AC games and with Ubisoft in general, there seems to be kind of the opposite effect, where everybody knows that 3 to 6 months after the game launches, even if it's a big AAA game of theirs, it's probably 50% off, you know, because they just put it on deep sale very, very quickly. So they have sort of the opposite problem of a lot of these companies, or I don't know if it's a problem, but they have the opposite effect where people just have a more laissez-faire approach to getting into Ubisoft games. So they just have to find some way to create excitement and to I think win players over. And all of this reminds me of the Dragon Age thing. I'm going to keep pounding that because BioWare is, in my view, much lower in terms of the social credit, social cachet ladder. I think they're much lower than even Ubisoft is. Ubisoft makes fine games or okay games or average games, but like Anthem and freaking Andromeda, those were like ridiculous. Like those were unacceptably bad. And there's been like Ubisoft games like that, but good God Almighty, their two previous games, and granted they're just one studio, but those were horrible. And so what is the different approach? Well, BioWare is like, we're going to do everything we can to try and get you happy. We're going to do everything we can to try and be pro-consumer, to try and avoid any drama, you know, as far as we can help it. And they do that with like $60 on Steam instead of $70. Steam Deck verified 2 months before launch. They're going to come out and they're going to do, you know, they're saying we're not planning for expansions or DLC. We're just focused on this one game and that's it. And I think that like all of these different things just show that they're trying to, as you said, like earn their way to the top and try to convince people and climb that ladder. Whereas I think Ubisoft's approach in years past has been that we're on the top, you're going to come to us, so we don't really need to try that hard. And I think Star Wars Outlaws probably reminded them that you can't really play that game, especially when it's this competitive in the industry.
Yeah, and like they are still one of the only companies, and they of course did not do that for Outlaws, but they are still planning to do that because in that game you have a store, and like it's like in that spot where you know, okay, they're gonna fill that at one point. But they were still like, look at Wukong, like every other single player game doesn't have the microtransactions, and a Ubisoft that right now kind of needs the goodwill would still fall in that trap of getting the headlines day one, being like, "Oh, there are 10 outfits in the shop, and 10 you can earn in the game." Like that's not good. Yeah. So
I think that's the
can't
big thing.
Get away with that.
Like you're saying, the goodwill. There's just not. There is an approach with a lot of companies where they're like, "Yeah, people will be upset about this, but it's not a big deal." Like they'll get over it, or they weren't gonna give us money anyway, so who cares if they're upset. And I can understand that sentiment in some cases, like with Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, there were some people freaking out about that game. It demonstrably did not affect the performance of that game. If anything, it helped it. So in some cases, I understand it. But I think with other cases, and Ubisoft, I think, is a prime example, just because people are upset about your game does not mean that you can just dismiss it. Especially because like one of the most crushing forces in the gaming industry is peer pressure, and is like playing something uncool. And if it's deemed that being a Ubisoft fan is like bad or cringe or this or that, you'll just see people stopping to talk about it and then move on and just play something else or wait till they get it on a deep sale. And so I think they need to do a lot of goodwill farming. I think they just got to do it. And it's tough because it's expensive to do that. You'll lose money. You'll offer things on a discount. You'll come out, do this and that. But they got to build it up. And it's possible. I mean, people forget, but EA back in like 2014, 15, 16, they were winning the awards for the worst company in America, like back to back to back to back, against like pretty horrifying corporations. Like they were beating out these horrifying companies. And, you know, they tried very hard, dug themselves out of it. They started greenlighting secondary like indie projects and eventually won Game of the Year in 2021 with It Takes Two. People forget that that's an EA original game. So they've done a lot of stuff, and I think Ubisoft needs to start trying to do that stuff too.
Yeah, and it's I think good for them overall, and it shows. Like I think they were, especially with Assassin's Creed, thought they were kind of untouchable, but they just don't want to take the risk. And just to show, or like to like hammer how big this is, there has never been a mainline Assassin's Creed title that got delayed. Never. They all launch in the holiday season, because also like not even the giving away the DLC now for free if you pre-order, losing the early access, like all that sort of stuff, like that will cost them a ton of money, but they will miss out on those holiday sales. Like there are a lot of people that would have picked, like this is the perfect Christmas game, of course. Like you have the people that play a few games per year, the sport game, Call of Duty, and Assassin's Creed is on that list as well. And finally having a big one in Japan, everyone wanted that. And in February, yeah, I'm not sure if it will still probably do fine. We've seen that launching a game whenever, it doesn't really matter that much. But for a mainstream title like this, it's a really big deal. Like they really, really are feeling it to make this decision. And I really hope it's for the best. Like now I'm curious what state this game will launch in. Yeah. Because if they, with these extra months, still launch it in a questionable state, then they have to look at their quality assurance and a lot of other stuff. Because I think that is, like, it's a lot of people think, okay, Ubisoft game, it's a 7 or whatever. Like I think you said it as well. Like they have to prove again that they are worth it, and get rid of all the crap that gets in the way. But in the end, it still has to be a quality product. Yeah. And Assassin's Creed still has the name and the legacy, so people just want to know where the story goes and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you even, like, that is your crown jewel, you cannot lose that. That is what Square Enix right now has. Like their crown jewel, Final Fantasy, is not what it has been before, and they're like, what the heck do we do now? Ubisoft still has it. So on one end, it's good that they are delaying it. Sometimes a hard hit like this is needed to shake them.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing, just to stress for everybody, again, it's the first time something on this scale has been delayed, full stop. Like, so that alone is a big deal. And then also like news of all the other stuff that they've backed out of or that they've canceled in the last few weeks or upcoming weeks. All of that represents millions of dollars lost. So this decision did not come lightly. And if they're making this decision, it's got to be that there's something that they were seeing that was seriously concerning. I mean, Joe Raptor, what do you think like where do you think this game is right now? Do you think it really is like broken, or do you think that they just saw people complain about like AI in Star Wars Outlaws and they're like, oh, AI in our game in Shadows isn't very good either? Like, what do you
Yeah, but
think?
I'm not sure if in 3 months you can fix the AI like that. That's I think you need more for that. I personally think that their metrics that they had for Outlaws were way better than what it turned out to be, and that they used these same metrics for Shadows, and we're seeing similar like uptick and positive feedback. But they're like, we cannot trust this anymore. And of course, this game for an Assassin's Creed game has way more negativity surrounding it than any other Assassin's Creed game. Like the hype for Valhalla was
Yeah,
insane.
people forget
And
AC Valhalla. It was popping off, millions of views on the trailer.
oh
Like,
yeah, there was nothing they could do wrong with that game. So I think that already got them a bit of cold feet, where they were like, okay, but they're like, yeah, but we have a good game, and I totally believe it. Like, it's still the Quebec studio. I think Odyssey also had an uphill battle, but they conquered it and became one of the best performing Assassin's Creed games ever. While the launch was pretty soft too, or like relatively soft versus other Assassin's Creed titles. But I don't know what they saw. I really think that they just don't want to risk it or something. That they just can't do this again, because they thought Outlaws was going to be a hit as well, or at least make its money back. And I think they already got a big loss on that, looking at the and nobody's talking about it anymore. It's over. It already feels like it's come and gone. While I still see a lot of people talking about Wukong, for example, or other titles that like Warhammer still going strong. So this year has really been a sort of wake up call for companies that have been doing the same thing for years and years and years. And yeah, and that's what you of course saw the CEO's comment, right, under the Asmongold video from
yeah,
from Space Marine.
he refused to acknowledge clearly if that was him or if it was just some person claiming to be him. Like,
I think they did not say that it was not him. So
Yeah.
that kind of
it
proves
was like,
that
whoever said that's pretty based. So maybe it was him, or maybe it wasn't
No, they
him,
didn't
but he
wanna
agrees.
comment.
Like,
I think yeah.
so either way, I think he was like, I mean, it's a pretty based comment. So I don't know. Even if it's true, it is a sentiment that clearly a lot of people resonate with.
Yeah, but for people who don't know, he basically said that I wish we could go back to a time where games were just about having fun again, and just like about the gameplay. And I think this year has shown that more than ever. Like Helldivers doesn't have a story, or of course it has some like meta going on, but you're not watching cutscenes or anything. Palworld is one of the ugliest games you've ever seen, but it did insanely well. Like and Space Marine 2, of course, looks insanely well, but that's also really about just the fun of slashing things, and Wukong as well. Like the monkey, your character doesn't even talk. So and yeah, then you come with a very traditional game, and maybe you're spending just the money on the wrong things. And I think the things you said are very interesting as well, where it's not the same anymore. Like you can't just spend money. Like it's not the year of the licensed games anymore, where I would just like slam a franchise on it, people would run out to buy it. No, we as consumers are way more in the know now, because we have things like TikTok, we have like a lot of like access to knowledge from people. And if you hear your favorite few channels or whatever not talk about this game, or actually talk down on it, then you're like, no, and they can like throw many ads at you, it won't work. And that totally has changed. So I do think that, I think what you said was very interesting. Like, yeah, maybe that 100 million that we would otherwise spend on marketing, I think 100 is a lot, but what if we use that to give away the first expansion for free as like a gift? Okay, that would lose us this money, but maybe it will get us goodwill, and people will then maybe buy the game. They're like, oh, I'm getting way more money for $80 or $70. I get way more game than I normally would, and maybe they would then stick around, buy an armor set in the shop, and you got more money than someone who would never play your game. Like there's so much competition right now, and they just have to get you in the door first.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft kind of forgot that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was like you said, I think quite accurately, for a long time, especially with like Valhalla, the premise was straightforward, simple. It's Assassin's Creed. It's a big, like, open world adventure RPG, but you're playing as a Viking. People heard that and were salivating because there was nothing really like that. And it came out at a good time too, where there was not a lot of other games doing that type of thing. So, except maybe like Valheim, I think was around the same time. But anyway, so, you know, they didn't have to worry about getting players in the door. It was, how do we take advantage of that? How do we monetize that once they're here? Because they're going to come. And with Shadows, I still think that a huge chunk of the more casual, like, Assassin's Creed audience doesn't really give that much of a crap about the Yasuke drama. But what they do know is that talking about the game online or being excited about the game is like being radioactive. I mean, if you go into a comment section and you say like, I don't really care about the Yasuke thing, people will like go onto your X profile and find where you live. Like, people lose their minds over it. So I think it's just a unfortunately radioactive title at the moment. And I don't blame content creators for not wanting to talk about it. I don't blame, you know, streamers for not wanting to cover it. But that represents also a huge loss in earned media for the Assassin's Creed franchise that I don't think that they really factored in. They were like, well, it's just people being upset on Twitter and X or whatever. But that is blowback. A lot of creators, especially when it's so stacked in that, like, these months that we're talking about, they just aren't going to bother covering it. And now in February, like, what are the odds that a lot of big channels are going to spend 2 weeks in early February talking about Shadows when they could spend that time talking about Avowed or about Kingdom Come or about Monster Hunter? You know, it's, I honestly don't know if there is an easy way out of these problems that they've gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe the delay, maybe they have some grand plan. Maybe it's like, we figured it out. We delay it till February, and then we do this, and then we send out hits, and we kill Luke and Joraptor.
I mean,
like, I don't know.
Don't give them ideas. I do think they're kind of banging their head now, thinking, what if we launched Star Wars in November and Assassin's Creed in February? Like, that would have been better for everyone. Because they could have used the extra time on Outlaws as well, but then they would have never delayed the game to February, of course. Oh man, it's crazy. I mean, we saw the rumblings already. Insider Gaming had an article up that the press event for Shadows got cancelled. They of course had their Tokyo Game Show stream that was about to go live like in 40 hours, and they canceled it at the last minute.
That
so
also, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, there was a leak of the developer diary, whatever thing.
Yeah.
Where IGN China posted it early. I still don't think that's officially public, right?
No.
So like,
I also asked Ubisoft about it, and they didn't know when they were gonna
so like,
publish it.
even that is on hold. Like, little videos they have done on like gameplay features, even that's
but I mean, that's of course what we've been talking about on this podcast for a long time. It's you want to build that hype a few weeks before, and they had this whole plan up till the November 15th date, and now everything just gets moved by a few months, similar to the release date. Like, why post it now? Yeah, I mean, people are getting refunded. Like, you want people to entice to a pre-order again, so I think that video would just be wasted.
Yeah.
But I think Ubisoft China did not get the memo that they weren't supposed to post it, and then IGN China posted it on their website, and that's how it got leaked. But yeah, it's interesting, and I see a lot of people saying, and that's of course the thumbnail, and we should talk about that in a moment here as well. The Ghost of Yotei reveal that it has anything to do with it, but obviously not. Like, that is not connected at all. I think this is like I don't think they are afraid of it, and I honestly think I mean, you could look at it from two sides. Like, this game will still launch way before Ghost of Yotei. I think Ghost of Yotei is like August at the earliest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we already know Sony won't have a major game before April. So it won't be before April. So Shadows already has a few months. I mean, maybe people are like, Ghost of Yotei is still far away. I want my samurai itch right now. Let's go and play Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, you can look at it both ways. Or maybe on PlayStation, people are like, I will wait a few months. I'm fine. And then for that type of game. And looking at it, it is interesting, though, that because they are now not doing a direct sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, that they are very close to the setting of Shadows. It's like 24 years later, which kind of wild. But I do think that those in general will be quite different games.
Yeah, I think they
overall.
appeal to a different group. Everybody jokes that like Ghost of Tsushima is the AC game that everybody actually wanted, but it plays more like a Far Cry almost. It doesn't really play similarly to an Assassin's Creed, a modern AC game, that is. So I don't know. It certainly doesn't help, I think, at least in my opinion. I don't think it helps Shadows, but I think Shadows has much bigger problems that they're dealing with. To look at some of these super chats people are bringing in about this specific topic before we move on. Lots of very good ones in here, everybody. Thank you for these super chats and stuff. I'm just going to read the one specific to this topic, and then we'll catch up on all the others, okay? Let's see. Nerdy Giant, do you think Ubisoft is scared? Maybe changes are coming and have already been made internally, and that might be a reason for the delay. I mean, clearly, whether it's a scared emotion or if it's just panic, something they are seeing is severe enough that they are willing to like bail on millions of dollars and a whole marketing plan. And I mean, something severe has been realized internally. And I don't know if it's just maybe pre-order numbers are that bad. Maybe they did identify some like huge game breaking bug or something. I don't know. But something big happened for sure. And then Judson brings up this one. Another controversy Ubisoft got into was the one-legged Torigate that was destroyed during the Nagasaki bombing. Got Japanese people mad. Yeah, that one, I tried to dig into it. Ubisoft absolutely should have caught it, because it seems like you should have teams of people looking for reasons people would get upset, especially in the context of Shadows. But it seems like the merch company is the one that designed it and put it together, and then Ubisoft signed off on it at some point to sell it. So it's not like Ubisoft designed that. They still signed off on it, which is an oopsie, but I think it's also crazy that went through presumably 2 different companies and nobody caught that, hey, like this is not just, this has clear symbolism.
And especially after there was so much critique on all the other things they did, like the concept art having a flag from something that wasn't, like, that's still a real thing now but did not exist back then. Like, there were so many issues. So you would think they got some people on that, right? Every time we publish something Shadows related, we got some historians or whatever looking at it. But no.
Yeah. MMO RPG Al, I worry now that AC Shadows has to face GTA 6's marketing cycle going at full blast. No, I think it comes way before GTA 6.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll have that problem. Now, Ghost might have that problem, but time will tell. Blake, thank you for the 10. The Yasuka thing wasn't the only issue for players. There's the controversy about it looking the same RPG game, Chinese architecture instead of Japanese. Now the Funko Pop thing looks bad, man. The Chinese architecture, I've heard people bring that up, but I haven't ever seen like super clear examples, so I'm just not familiar with that particular frustration. Do you know anything about that, Joe Raptor?
I saw that as like one of the things people noted as well, but I also haven't been really paying attention to it myself.
It gives me a headache, all of this. So I just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't
Yeah,
get too into it.
let's also. I think it's good that people call these things out, but like I'm for my social media consumption, I'm looking at the positive try as much as I can be. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I only have so much energy.
yeah, exactly.
But all great points, and thank you guys for that. But I mean, I guess just to wrap up this topic before we get into the state of play, do you have any closing thoughts? Any unique things? Do you have?
I think. Do we have more? I think we have Blake. Did you already get that? That Fallout only did well because of the COVID lockdowns, which many games try from. I think it
Oh
was
yeah,
like for Fallout, it was like a perfect storm of things. So totally that helped. But I think coming off Odyssey, that a lot of people loved, having finally that Viking game. Like Viking was back then really a. There are not a lot of games like it, so let's go, right? So they had a lot of things going for it. So that totally, I think, helped. And we got Somaya as well, as always, with the support. I'm glad Shadows got delayed. If we're getting a better game, I can now spend more time playing Metaphor, Refantasio, and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I mean, I know there's like a few people that are happy that they can spare more time in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, but it was like Ubisoft's duty to get people away from that game.
yeah.
And
I mean,
failed.
that
They
people are
failed.
forgetting that it's like an ethical duty, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Save these people.
yeah. Nobody's asking about that, the ethics of the delay, because now more people will play Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we do a little trolling. So yeah, my closing thoughts on it. I find it fascinating
Yes.
because something like this does not just happen. You know, this is not. We'll delay it by a few months just to like fix up maybe the lip sync or something. Like, no, this is huge. Like this does not happen unless there is something extremely serious.
I mean, I think Ubisoft has always been like we can try a lot of different things. We have our live service, free to play stuff that all went nowhere. We got the mobile games. We will try some NFTs, but we know that we can at least, if we launch an open world game, it will do well. Like even Immortals did well. Watch Dogs Legion maybe did not set the world on fire. I think it still made its money back. Far Cry 6 maybe didn't do as well, still did pretty well. And then they launched Star Wars Outlaws, where they're like, hey, now we have an IP that might even be bigger than the ones we have. What the heck? It doesn't do well at all. And we have some
Same
more
with
negative
Avatar
surrounding.
too. I mean,
Avatar before that. Yeah.
I mean,
So-
maybe the takeaway is Disney IP also are not as big as they seem. Like, if anything, people find it to be kind of a turnoff. And I mean, Star Wars Outlaws also came out at like the time where Star Wars' brand is probably at the lowest it's ever been, especially after the
since
Acolyte.
Disney, yeah.
So that also really didn't help. And I think when a lot of people are like, well, if Disney just did this thing that was horrible, or at the very least not great, what are the odds that this thing they're working with Ubisoft on ends up being really good? And so people just decide, I'll wait. And then sure enough, in 6 months, or over Christmas, they'll get it for like $20 or $15. I think eventually it'll catch up and make some money, but it's just going to take a long time.
Yeah, they now said that it will launch on November 21st already on Steam, which is way sooner than they anticipated. And I think that will be the day that they launch the first DLC. Maybe they will give that away for free. Oh no, they already sold it, of course. But maybe they will do something for that as well. Like, I think they're gonna relaunch it as much as possible. Like, they don't have to be afraid about cannibalizing their own game with Shadows now in November. So I think they will do a lot for Outlaws in November. Low price, get people in. And that might work, but it will still not be the success that they wanted. And it's still wild, man. And we should of course move on. But I remember when they announced that Ubisoft was making an open world Star Wars game, and how excited people were without even knowing what it was, because everyone in their heads had their own version of that, right? What could it be? Is it Mandalorian or something? And to then release this, that just like, if you make a Star Wars open world Ubisoft game and you have to convince people to buy it, you're doing something wrong. And I think that's also what we really saw this year, where Stellar Blade, for example, that's the perfect example of, it's a game that people just want. Like, they look at it, yeah, you don't have to tell me anything. That looks awesome. Let me play it. Or like any like other like Space Marine is another great example of
Yeah,
that as
Space Marine,
well.
you don't need to know anything about Warhammer. You see it and you're like, okay, that looks badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go, right? And for Outlaws, they were like, yeah, but you're a squad. Like they had to explain it, and oh god, like, and they spent so much time explaining it. Well, that is what the Star Wars license should get you. That you don't even have to explain.
Yeah.
It's like, want to play in the Star Wars universe in open world? We got you. But no, they made it so hard for themselves.
Yeah,
And then
I think you're right. If you can't convince me that your game is awesome with like a 30-second cutscene or 30-second sizzle reel, I'm trying to think of a game where I wouldn't be convinced with like a well-edited 30-second sizzle reel. I mean, even slow games like Red Dead 2, show me 30 seconds of that, some of those trailers and commercials they did. Yeah, I'm in, you know, or sizzle reels for The Witcher or for Hogwarts or for It Takes Two, like all these varied games. I think you could probably convince me to get them within 30 seconds. And if you have to go more than that, you're in trouble. Because it's, again, like I've used political commentators before as examples, not commentators, but like analysts, because I think that their job is to understand public opinion and how to navigate that. And in the US, I forget who it was. It might have been JFK, but there was a famous American political figure who was quoted as saying, if you're explaining, you're losing. And I think that is often true in marketing in general as well, where if you have to explain so much, maybe there's something wrong where your game is convoluted and people just can't understand what it is. Whereas, you know, as you pointed out, there's plenty of games where you just see it. You're like, Pal World. Oh, it looks like Pokemon, but they have rifles. I'm in. You know, like
exactly.
you just, I feel like that question is sometimes lost. And the other piece of it too is, and I'll leave on this because I could keep rambling. But the other piece of this is that I feel like a lot of development companies have kind of lost sight of the fact that their job is to create a product that the gaming community and public wants, not to create something and then convince the public that they want it. It's a reversal. And I feel like Space Marine 2 is something gamers want. They see it, they want it. Stellar Blade, they see it, they want it. Helldivers, they see it, they want it. Pal World, they see it, they want it. But a lot of these other games, like a Concord, they made it, and then they have to spend all this money on marketing trying to convince you that you actually do want it. You're just mistaken.
Yeah.
Which is really, really interesting.
I mean, you sometimes reach that point with a Naughty Dog. Like if they make an IP that you might not be might not like it. Like I'm not a fan of zombie games. Like before playing The Last of Us, but it was still one of my favorite experiences ever. So they convinced me in that regard because of the pedigree. So yeah, but yeah, that's like so only like a few studios can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, and I think what we all saw with Outlaws, and we talked about it here on the podcast as well, is that they show too much. At one point, you reach a point where it can actually hurt you, like the IGN gameplay or the amount of there was 4 hours of gameplay from everyone. I was doing the wanted system. That did not look good. Like that was not a great thing to show. But they let you go crazy. Well, we were like speculating, what if they just showed less? Maybe more people's interest was piqued because they were like, I'm curious about this. So I think they have to find the balance in that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, as part of this, they're announcing that they're doing an internal investigation of the company. They're reviewing
hiring
stuff.
assassins for us.
Yeah, they're gonna have us taken out. All this stuff. So I think they see something is wrong, and they're gonna try to figure out what that is. But I mean, we'll see if anything comes of it. But still, ground shaking announcement without a doubt.
Yep.
Big
First
deal.
time ever delay.
Yeah.
Not good. How's the stock doing? I think they made this announcement when the stock the stock is I think that it's down.
It's pretty common for them to.
Yeah, they made the announcement after the market closed, I think.
Yeah.
So we will see tomorrow.
Yeah, it's pretty typical. ADRs are down like 12%, but you also don't know much about whether that holds up, because basically ADRs tend to re-lock and swing up and re-hook in market open. So you just never really know. But it's crazy. I mean, without a doubt, they are not trading where they want to be trading.
No.
Is the company going to go belly up because the stock price is low? No. Or not necessarily, to be more precise, but it's certainly not where you want to be. They would rather have their stock going up. Shocker.
So let's not talk about the real reason they delayed it. Like, they probably woke up this morning and were like, "Oh, let's have a nice development day. Let's work on the what is this?
Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster.
Remaster. 2 weeks before our game.
Oh god.
Delay. To be fair though, and you gotta give me, it looks insanely good.
I will be honest, in the side-by-sides, I had to look at the label to tell which was which.
No.
Should we do a poll?
You should not look at like Zero Dawn PS. You have to look at the remastered version.
Let me do this. I'll make a poll. I'll put this in chats while you talk about kind of the overall showcase, and then everybody in YouTube and Twitch chat, I need all of you guys to vote on this, because I'm basically going to ask whether you think Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster looks like a big improvement. Okay.
I'm really curious. Like, you're
very
probably gonna find like the worst photo ever. No, but yeah, that was of course one of the major announcements during the State of Play, and it kind of tells you how big of a show it was. Maybe you saw it, maybe not, but I'm gonna run down some other things. So of course, one Horizon game is not enough. They also need to have a second one. Lego Horizon is coming November 14th, so I will finally have time to play it now that Shadows has been delayed. Monster Hunter Wilds, February 28th. Yeah, good date for that. And yeah, it looked pretty cool in the new trailer. We saw the big monster with the whip that can like attack you like that. Of course, they have cutscenes now with voice acting. It looks pretty cool. I'm sure it's gonna be big. And yeah, Assassin's Creed launching around that. Curious if that will impact it. But it's kind of different. But it's for creators, I think. Yeah, you will divide some time now. We got another like a Dragon Age. They showed like a fight against a dragon, but with the mage class, and I'm not sure if that was like the best idea. But yeah, of course that game will still be out. That's like, if you really look at it, that's the only big AAA game that's left this year, which is crazy to think about. And Dragon Ball, it doesn't count. We also get Alan Wake 2 DLC in October. Astrobot is getting speedrun levels. Palworld is now out on PS5. We got Hell Is Us. That looked pretty cool, from Rogue Factory and Nacon. That was like a guy with like a cloak and a drone that you can use to also jump. And yeah, he had like a glowing sword, and we're fighting these ghost enemies. Looked pretty awesome. So I will keep an eye out for that. Dynasty Warriors 100 is coming as well. The 100th edition of the series, January 17th. They do another remastered for Legacy of Kain. Never played those games, but of course you hear good things about it. Then we got some PSVR 2 stuff. Metro Awakening is launching on November 7th, and Hitman: The World of Assassination is coming to PSVR 2. It was already on PSVR 1. And Arc Age Chronicle looked pretty cool. It's the MMO, but it's now coming in 2025, just like every other game. And of course, then we were like, is this it? We also saw Stellar Blade with the photo mode and the Nier crossover. We saw even more colors for our controllers. And then we saw Mark Cerny and being like, hey guys, look at these PS5 Pro games.
Even more like robotic. We're so excited to show you the PlayStation 5 Pro. He looks like he's like filling a vial with poison to inject into your throat.
People say, and I totally get that, like they were wondering if he was AI or not. Like I totally think
he has that vibe. Get away with it. He just does. Yeah. He looks like he's got my family chained up in his basement, you know? I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but every time I see him, I'm like,
Yeah, let's keep him in the basement working on new PlayStation hardware. But yeah, he showed the sizzle reel with 2 seconds of Assassin's Creed Shadows and a lot of old games.
Mhm.
Dragon Age Veilguard also confirmed though to be upgraded, and then they added. It was like, should we do it? Yeah, otherwise people will be mad. And then they dropped the trailer for the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima that is out next year. But again, we know it will launch after March. So will be some time because I think, like they said, we will have more in the months ahead, like Game Awards, of course, December 12th. That seems like a good bet for another look at the game. And yeah, with Sony showcasing and releasing titles now very quickly after each other. Like Astrobot was announced at the end of May. It came out early September. So that maybe teases that this game is closer than we think. But on the other hand, they kind of needed a win like this, right? To get people excited because really, this was the Wolverine was the last AAA single player Sony first party game that they announced, and that was in 2021. So it's now 3 years since we had a AAA Sony single player game because all the other years it was Marathon, Fair Games, Concord.
I mean,
so,
I'll admit when I'm wrong. I was totally wrong about this state of play. I was pretty sure that this was going to be a doubling down on live service. They were going to do Marathon and show Fair Games because their corporate signaling is, nope, we haven't really changed our mind. We were expecting that some of these wouldn't land and we're going to try again, you know? And I was impressed to see that there basically was, I mean, other than mentions of like Fortnite and the MMO and stuff, pretty much it was a focus on like single player stuff, first and foremost. And then they dropped the Ghost trailer when they didn't really have to, and I thought that was a good way to do it. So, well done, Sony. I was braced for a Concord re-release announcement or something, but they kept it much more focused. There were some announcements I thought, we had memed on, and people were like not confident in, like we all heard that some of these like remasters were coming, and we're like, like, is this really necessary? Do we really need this? And I know we meme on Horizon a good bit. The improvements are notable. They've redone a lot of motion capture. They've done model swaps. So they've replaced Aloy's model in the base game with her model from Forbidden West. Young Aloy looks way better
the poll
too.
now. What's happening with the poll? I'm going to this weird website. You can do a poll in the thing as well, eh?
Yeah, but this way we can have it polled on Twitch and YouTube. And everybody gets to vote on the same poll. And it's about 58% of people are saying there's not.
What is the comparison that you showed? I did not see it.
I wanted to show a picture, but they make you sign up for a pro account to do that. So I did not. So I just asked, based on what people have seen, is it a significant?
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, I was gonna do like some really funny side by sides, but
I'm gonna. I'll figure it out. I got a phone. I'm gonna show it.
You all have phones, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait for Horizon Mobile, by the way. It's gonna be good. Okay, so people, I'm gonna show 2 pictures, and I want to ask the chat: A or B? Type that in the chat. Which one do you think is the new one, and which one is the Zero Dawn, the regular?
Okay.
Let me see.
Let's see. For everybody listening, I'll describe them. The first picture is of Aloy standing in front of flowers, turning back and looking sensually at the camera. The second picture is of Aloy standing in front of a field of flowers, looking back over her shoulder sensually. They look like the same freaking picture, dude. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so A or B? Is A the new game or B?
Oh my god. Oh wow. That's the same picture. Oh man.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people that have it right. See, people can see it, and you see that it's better. You
Yeah,
want to do one for young Aloy as well?
I'll put it up. This is the side by side I think Jor was doing. I'll put it up on screen so we can see it a little smoother.
Yeah, exactly. Boom.
Yeah, and so this is one of those things where when you see a direct side by side, you can tell the difference. The skin is a lot softer. It's less waxy than the left picture. Left is the original, right is the Horizon Forbidden West model. Oddly enough, it's probably just the capture, but I feel like the cloth and texture quality is worse in the right picture. But again, that's probably just capture. The hair also looks... it's thicker on the right, but I think that's because the physics are improved, and so it's not as grainy. But there's that, and then this is the side-by-side I saw that, frankly, is a huge improvement. Original baby Aloy was nightmare fuel. It was, like, straight-up horrifying. I don't know. I think what they did is a lot of games, they don't actually have, like, kid models, so they just shrink adult models into a weird form factor so they look horrifying. And I think that's basically what happened with Horizon Zero Dawn, but they've replaced it, and this looks way better. Is it worth $10 better? I don't know, but it does look like an actual improvement. So I will say it is a graphical enhancement. I still think it's freaking hilarious to do a full-on remaster of a game that people already thought looked
to
really
be
good.
fair, it's $10. Your save works. They did 10 hours of new mocap for the conversations. They look way better. Like, they were very static, where the mouth just moved, and now these characters are kind of moving as well. Like, you don't have to buy it. It still works great on your PS4. But they put some extra effort in. It's not like the Last of Us Part 2 remastered, where, I'm sorry, but even with binoculars and like a good equipment, I could not see the difference.
But to defend The Last of Us Part 2 remaster, they had all sorts of stuff like a roguelike mode that they added, and they had Lost Levels, which was like a behind-the-scenes thing where you could go play through unfinished levels and listen to director commentary. If they do something like that for this, I would eat that up. I love that behind-the-scenes stuff. But I think the key takeaway, even as somebody that memes on Horizon and stuff like that, I will say this is a notable, in my opinion, a noticeable improvement. Will it be worth the upgrade fee for everybody? Probably not. Like, I don't know why you'd subject yourself to more Horizon if you have the choice. But
good reason.
It's there.
No, it's right. It's the same game, especially if your save works. Like, I think that on the one end, it's kind of nice, but on the other end, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to boot up the game. Wow, it looks great. Oh, let's do a side mission to see the conversations. Oh yeah, I've already done this side mission. I'm out. That's probably going to be my experience. Or I'm going to like do a whole new run, but I don't know. It's launching on the same day as Dragon Age. I would prefer to play that.
It is really funny that once again, Horizon chooses to launch on the day, like right next to one of the biggest releases of the year. Again, I think it's that Herman Holst is like, he just thinks Horizon is like the biggest franchise in the universe and it will beat anything and everything. And maybe for some people in the Netherlands it is, but for like me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, cool. Good idea. Cool. But like, it very much, I think, shows that Herman is a little biased in terms of when he thinks that this should be thrown at. One thing he
wanted to like space it out, like have his baby Concord in August and then his other baby in October, and like if they launch close to each other, then he has to choose what he has to play, and he doesn't want that, so that's why he did it.
I will also say, and I have to complain about this because I've complained about it in my critiques of these games, and they are still doubling down on it. Horizon uses what's called like a cinematic lighting, like 3-point lighting system. So whenever a cutscene starts or dialogue starts with like an NPC, they set up a key light, a fill light, a backlight. Like they set up this dynamic lighting system for the cutscene. And what drives me crazy is that it often doesn't actually look realistic to the scene. Like, you know, The Last of Us, the lighting is always so beautifully done with like you're inside a broken down hotel, but the light is so soft coming in through the window, diffused by the curtains.
But
But
have
with
you ever been to
Horizon, it's
the
like,
Netherlands?
oh,
That's actually how the Netherlands looks.
everybody has a spotlight
on their face. Yeah,
Everybody
so
looks like this.
this is actually realistic. You just
Yeah,
you
in
just
America, all the lighting is
Yeah.
way worse. But like they do it here too. Where like he's inside a bush. You can see the primary light is coming from behind. It's illuminating the plants behind him. And yet, for some reason, there's a gigantic key light in front of his face reflected in the pupil. Like, it drives me crazy. It pulls me out. Where I'm like, oh, we are inside of a forest. And then it goes into a cutscene, and it's like studio lighting. It drives me crazy.
No, but it's super smart. They wanted to do the TV show as well. So they were like, they already in their head while developing the game were like, okay, so where do we put the studio like lamps and stuff? So they're already thinking ahead. You know, it's a multimedia
forward-thinking,
experience.
Yeah, sounds like a you problem. Oh, it absolutely is. I have a problem with this. To be perfectly clear, yeah. I know many people don't give a crap about it, but it's for me something once I noticed it, I can never unsee it. Because literally every single scene, she steps in and then studio lighting, even though she's in the middle of a snowstorm. And it's like, what is happening? Like, what are we doing?
But Days Gone remastered. Are you excited about that?
That's another game where I'm just like, why? And I like Days Gone, and I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know why they would do that.
They just like, I think that game actually does like, I think will benefit from like having the spotlight on it again, fixed everything, and people that maybe skipped the PS4 generation heard good things about it but never really played it. But like with Horizon, it's of course we just had Forbidden West and the DLC and the VR game and now the Lego game, so it's a bit too much. But I just think that they have so many plans for Horizon. They just want a good entry point. Like they have been working on Forbidden West for forever, and that just looks way better. And they were like, oh, it doesn't actually maybe cost that much, or effort and resource and whatever to make Zero Dawn like this. Let's just do it, and then we're done with it and give people 10. I mean, if 1 million people or 1 million gamers like buy that $10 upgrade, it's already pretty good. I think they already made their money back probably. So
yeah, well, and I think it was it Naughty Dog? I think they were very open about it. They said that their remasters are basically a training thing for their newbies. So like you get hired, you go work on the remasters, and then you get to like earn your spot on the big team once you've done the grunt work over there. And maybe that's a similar thing all these companies are doing, is they're like internally making. I think even Skyrim Anniversary Edition was created that way, where it was something they were doing internally to like learn the new hardware for, I think it would have been Fallout 4. And they'd already built it. They'd already done it to basically learn how to use the new tools and the new hardware. And so then they just decided to release it. So maybe it's just all of these companies are doing that and deciding to sell it. Can't really blame them.
Yeah, for sure. But let's talk about the actual new game then.
Yes.
Ghost of Yotei.
Ghost of Yotei.
We had a super chat about this an hour ago or something, so let's bring that in.
Yeah, thanks, fam, for being patient with us. Let's see. The first and most pressing question. I didn't see the clip, Joraptor, but we're gonna make you answer for it, okay?
Oh.
Sumaya, first super chat of the day, said, so Jor, we gonna talk about you being more excited and spending more time on Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster than Ghost in your state of play reaction?
Objection, that's not true.
It's not true. It's fake news, everybody.
Yeah, it's fake news.
Okay.
But it was fun that you were there, Samaya, but yeah, you have to get the facts straight. But that's what Dragon Ball does with your head, I get it.
it infects it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Let me go through this. Nerdy Giant asks a question thing for the 5. So is this more like a Miles Morales type game maybe
Yeah.
we'll have a 15-20 hours of gameplay and then later we get a direct sequel to Ghost. I don't think so. I think the Ghost franchise is just a different Ghost each time. I think that's what they're establishing with this. I don't know if Joe Raptor has like further information
Yeah,
on
yeah,
this,
yeah.
but
Yeah, so are we still talking about Horizon Zero Dawn? Because I only no, I'm kidding. No, I have like the New York Times article in front of me. Wait, they have I'm going to the web page archive because they want me to pay, but we're not doing that. So here they say actually, so what's the DNA of a Ghost game? So they had the exclusive interview with Sucker Punch, and basically what the developer said is it's about transporting the player to the romance and beauty of feudal Japan. So that is how they approached, yeah, the sequel. I do think that they should have been more clear about that, right? I mean, it's kind of cool to get a surprise like this with a brand new main character. It's like more than 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima, so Jin is obviously dead. And I'm sure that he will show up as a mythic tale, or maybe we will have like a side mission where, I mean, I'm sure that his legacy will live on, but there was nothing telling me that we were not gonna see Jin again. Like maybe we had other characters in the first game. Maybe they would expand on those. I totally get that. But I totally thought that, I mean, that's how all the other sequels from PlayStation Studios have been working as well. Spider-Man 2, Horizon 2, God of War, Ragnarok. Of course, not really 2, but yeah, for that reboot series as well. So I totally thought that we were gonna do that. And I think they should have been like, after Iki Island, more clear. This is the end of Jin's story, and we're gonna leave it at that. And then I don't think the surprise would have been as much. Because then I totally get the questions. Is this a Miles Morales type game? Because it's like a different character, and we had those as well. Like that is how they introduced Miles before he got like a huge role in the second game. So I totally get it that people are asking that, but no, this is really the next big title, and yeah, it's looking exciting. Like one of the things that I really wanted to see were more melee weapons, and that's totally what we're seeing. We're seeing the Kusarigama that Naue from Assassin's Creed Shadows can use as well, the sickle with the chain, a dual wielding katanas, which of course something we also wanted in the first game, a rifle that we can use. Of course, we're now again more than 300 years later, so there were rifles that the samurai used as well. And yeah, it seems like a pretty cool story where we're playing Aku, or what was her name?
Atsu?
Atsu, yeah, Atsu. Yeah, she has this list carrying around in the trailer. She's like carrying this list, probably with targets. And we hear that Ronins are hunting her down. We're in this Yotei area where the law is not really a thing, so it's kind of the Wild West, and that's what the trailer really did. Like they really give this Wild West vibe, of course, as well, which I really liked. So maybe we will have like mercenaries hunting us down. So yeah, it's interesting that there's not even a like that's what Horizon did as well. They had like in the logo a 2 somewhere for people who were like from Zero Dawn to Forbidden West. What's the order? But here it could be a spin-off. I totally get where people are coming from, but yeah, maybe when they show more, we will see. Oh, damn! This is actually the next big leap forward. What was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling after watching the trailer and reading that interview, my feeling is that this is the big next step. This is a full like sequel. This is the franchise. The franchise is not Jin. The franchise is the concept of a ghost. And in this case, they're doing some things that are interesting. I think it's going to feel and pace a lot differently than the first game, just based on like the idea of basically being an outlaw, and you know the map seems very different. Also, like they've shown it multiple times in some of these shots. For those of you listening, I'm looking at some of the footage from the trailer, but huge shots of vistas and wide open areas, and I mean, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima had some of this as well. They had big open areas. Nothing on this scale that I can remember. It really is impressive, and they're pushing the draw distance. Granted, like the pisser technology is struggle bussing pretty hard, it looks like, but it's also compressed out the ass, so it's just kind of hard to tell. But I think it looks good. I really think that this is one that on PC especially is going to look absolutely ridiculous, but it still retains that look of basically if you pause the game at any moment, it kind of looks like a painting, you know?
Yeah,
It's
100%.
just the art direction goes hard, and you can see. Oh, I was
sorry.
just going to point out, you can see even in these shots that they're showing, they have these wide open environments, which typically I get a little like, okay, what are we doing when we look at open world games with huge open areas, because there's just nothing there by definition. They're wide open. But you can see even in these, they set it up with points of interest or POIs in the distance that pull your attention. In this case, you see this tower off on the other side of the field. So you may be riding your horse for a solid 30, 40 seconds to get there, but you'll always have your eyes locked on that objective at the far end. So as long as they've really carefully implemented these big open fields, I think it will be fine. I know some people were worried about this. I saw on X, they were like, it looks too big and empty. It doesn't look like it's that dense or anything, but I would say that's probably the point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's this is what we wanted, and it's like also I think very interesting that they're going with this new character approach, because I do think that is kind of a problem for some people. If you were not playing on the PS4 generation, then the PS5 generation so far has only been sequels. And sure, this is a sequel, but I think you can probably easily jump into this without having played the first one. I don't know why you would, but it's possible.
And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's one of the ideas behind having a new protagonist entirely, is to just be like a new standalone thing.
Yeah, a new entry point for people, and yeah, I think that's very good. It is also interesting because they of course like show the huge mountain, the volcano in this area, and it's just funny that like with Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft also talked about, yeah, we're gonna make the mountains bigger this time, and then Sucker Punch like, hold my sake.
Ours is bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, ours is bigger. Come at me. And of course, they talked about like PS5 Pro or like PS5 in general enhancements, because this is the first, like, this is their first game for the built from the ground up for PS5, and that's overall crazy that we only had 2 of those yet, Spider-Man and this one.
Yeah.
But that of course means that we are seeing way more improvements, even though the director's cut for Ghost 1 of course looked insane. This is gonna take that to the next level, and they're kind of talking about the same things as Shadows, with like the wind of course, and the vegetation and a lot of other stuff, snow. So I'm curious if we kind of compare the two, if both were maybe thinking the same things, while of course being in development at the same time, and not being able to see what the others were working on. So I think we're eating good in 2025, because of course if you're just joining, Shadows is now also in 2025, although this Ghost game probably in August or something. It's gonna be sometime still, but it looks awesome.
So. Yeah. Inevitably the discourse, just as we kind of predicted on the live stream, there are already people calling this game to be canceled for being too woke, for having a female protagonist, because we can't have nice things. I just frankly, like, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired of everything needing to be twisted into some sort of statement. Like, if the game looks good, if the game looks fun, I'm gonna play it, have a good time. I'm just tired. I'm tired, you know?
Yeah, I'm not even paying attention to that. It's just crazy.
I will say it's been good to see people kind of like dismiss it and be like, okay, shut up. Like, we're not doing
that's
that.
Always,
we're tired.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So I think it's gonna be very interesting, and we even have rumors now that next to Ghost, Death Stranding 2, and Marathon, Sony might even have more 2025 games. So next year, man, it's gonna look insane. We have kind of a relatively quiet time, holiday season. While normally it's like, I mean, in a different timeline, we would have the new Switch, Assassin's Creed. There were of course other games also pushed out. Kingdom Come was supposed to launch this year. Like, but yeah, it always happens that games get pushed.
It feels like we're in this rut. I don't know if it's a rut, but it's like every other year pops off. You know, like 2023, crazy. 2024, like not bad, but not amazing. And then 2025, gonna be insane.
Yeah.
2026, there's a few that have been announced. Maybe we get like finally a look at what like Naughty Dog's been working on or something. But
yeah.
you know, maybe not. anything
Wolverine should
Maybe,
be out.
But it feels like we're in this rhythm where every other year pops off.
Yeah, I hope that I do think that also with COVID, of course, having moved everything and us finally getting to the final, like always the final years of a generation are when games are coming, because they first want to get their games still out on the old hardware for the big install base and then start working on their new game. So yeah, then in year 4 or 5 they got something ready. Like we know the new Jedi game, which was also announced, the final chapter for Cal's story. Like, I think that will still launch this generation, maybe even 2026. I mean, they want to get those out fast. So I think we have a lot to look forward to still. I do think 2026 won't be the same as 2025 unless GTA 6 gets delayed.
Yeah. So altogether, what would you rate the state of play?
Huh?
Well, I guess maybe I pair it with this. What would you have guessed it would be rated before the event, and what would you rate it now after? I'll let you think about it.
Okay.
Or I don't know if if you have an answer. I was like,
I think I already know it. I thought it would be a 7.5. And that's how we rate things here in the Netherlands. I think it ended on a 7. I think Ghost saved it. Otherwise, it would be like a 5 or something. Like not great. Ghost was a surprise. I really thought they would save that for like a showcase or the Game Awards or something, right? But no,
and it didn't.
They had
either.
Yeah,
That's what's even mad. Like that's crazy.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I see some people rating it Joe Raptor out of 10. That's a good rating. I think I expected it even lower. Like I said, was fully braced for them to come out with fair games. Maybe like an announcement of a free-to-play version of Concord.
Really?
I was braced for them to just be like full head in the sand, like screw you guys, this is what we're doing and you're gonna like it. But instead they focused on single-player stuff, and I mean it's so clear this is what PlayStation gamers want and love and eat up, because it's down like today. The talk of the town is Ghost of Yotei. So transparently,
that trailer already has more views than all the Concord media combined, I think.
And they didn't have to pay for any of these views. It's just people interested. So like Astrobot and then this, it just shows you like this is what the gamers that they've built their brand around really respond to. But again, just the meme right now is like, we're so back, we're so screwed. We're so back, we're so screwed every time PlayStation does anything. And I'll tell you what, like you might be riding high right now, but we do know that they're going to be revealing fair games. They're going to be doing probably something with Concord.
Are they though?
I don't think they're canning it. I mean, I've heard rumblings through secret means that PlayStation views Haven as like one of their most advanced studios. Like they consider it to be one of the most cutting edge technologically. And they think that Haven is huge for the future of PlayStation. So
but maybe then it's even smarter to cancel fair games and have them actually make something that people want.
But that's the thing is, from my understanding of people that like would know what they're talking about with it. Again, I hate being so coy, but they feel like when they show people fair games, people will go, "Oh, I get it and be super into it. Maybe they actually will. Maybe we do see it and we're like, this looks awesome. But based on that initial trailer, it looked like hot donkey crap. Personally, I didn't see.
I mean, they
anything.
got cool monkey masks.
Dude, it's so
Very
funny.
cool.
It looks so Ubisoft, doesn't it? It's just Watch Dogs, but as an extraction shooter, I guess. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Let's catch up on some of these super chats real quick, because we got a bunch. I'm going to try my best to get through these, guys. Thank you for being so active.
AMA
with this
is
all.
saying, oh, what the fuck is Fair Games? Like, I think that is a good...
I'm so envious that you don't know what it is. Yeah. And also, just respect the title. It's Fair Game $, technically.
Oh, yeah.
If we're being precise about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Let's see. We talked about that. We talked about that. Ike Gang, thank you for that. Jim is a disgrace. $400 million on Concord. That's 2 games. That's a lot of games, depending on how big they are. Jim Ryan, I think, will be memed into oblivion, and he deserves it, because I think he is, like, no joke, responsible for PlayStation's wasting of like $4 billion. Herman Holst is also responsible for it, but somehow he avoids all criticism and critique. I think it's because his background is with Guerrilla, so people are like, so you're one of us. But the dude has like...
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably could make like a lot of... Jim Ryan was still the head at that point. But if we're in a situation like this with Fair Games in a few years, then I think it does fall on his head.
Yep. It's I think Jim probably 70%, Herman 30%. And Herman being promoted, that gets me worried. So if you think that the live service stuff is over after Concord, no. Like, Ghost looks great, but they're still doing a lot of live service
I don't
stuff.
think the fact that they are doing live service games is wrong. It's just the focus on it instead of giving people... Like, if they announced Ghost and showed Fair Games yesterday as well, nobody would be like, well, Fair Game. It's mostly that it was only Fair Games Marathon and Concord.
Exactly.
And they have to make the games that we want. And again, an Horizon online game, again, I think that could be cool if they do it right. But like, they have to, like, that's why Helldivers worked. It was something unique, and that's what they have to do. So then it can still work, and I don't mind them, because it makes sense that they want that money, and I think that would maybe... I mean, these single-player games cost way more to make every generation. So if they can get a cash cow that will fund a lot of these games, I'm for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, nobody is opposed to them, like, making good live service games. The problem is that they've demonstrated they have no idea what makes for a good live service game. And so confidence in that field of their release lineup is kind of all-time lows. Let's see. The Nerdy Giant offering good advice. Just saying this, I'll get hate for this, but if you turn your social media off, it's surprising how much of the drama and negativity goes away. Yeah, it is amazing when you just, like, don't go on X, for example, how much your impression of some games or of movies or TV shows could totally change. I think that's good advice. Let's see. Judson, State of Remastered and a $10 upgrade for a $700 console. Only game that surprised me was Arcade Chronicles and Dynasty Warriors Origin. What was the like claymation one?
What?
The like claymation game, you know, where they said it's all been handmade in clay. Claymation.
Oh, is that the from the Lost in Random people? Or not? One of the first games they showed.
Midnight Walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing. Yeah. This one surprised me, and I think it actually looks... I'm going to eat this up. I understand not everybody likes this kind of thing, but I love claymation stuff. I love Tim Burton vibes. I love spooky, creepy games, and this is like made for me. So this was one that also got me excited.
Nice.
Let's see. Samaya, let me give Herman better advice. Remaster original God of War games and release it on PC and PS5. Yeah, that's an easy dub. Tell you what, right now. Blake, I hope the new Ghost game isn't detached from the first game. Hopefully they do something like AC Revelations, Mdong, maybe.
Yeah.
Both.
That would be cool.
Ezio and Altair's story. Yeah, I mean, I'm
That
sure
would
they've
be
got,
awesome.
I'm sure they've
They
got
have
lots of
that.
stuff on the table. Yeah.
Yeah, if like one of the activities is you relive the final years of Jin or whatever, that would be cool.
Or like maybe one
Um,
of the big story beats is finding his armor, and so like you
yeah,
have to go and
yeah, yeah. They could
relive.
do that
Yeah.
through a mythic tale, but it would be cooler if there are, yeah, if like maybe the story is, and that's what they are now going to do. That Jin probably started this whole ghost movement, and other people are picking up the mantle years
Mhm.
later, and that we kind of see how, yeah, how that happened from
Like they
Ghost
form a
One.
creed of
Yeah,
people that like
yeah,
assassinate
exactly,
target.
exactly.
uh,
So,
yeah, that's a good idea. Samaya, think of that. Where's Lies of P DLC? I was hoping it would be shown at the State of Play. Tokyo Game Show is my copium. Maybe Tokyo, maybe Game Awards. We're all waiting for it. I'm pretty sure they've publicly said they're still working on it. It's not like it's changed. So maybe Tokyo Game Show is not a bad bet, though. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come out of there, a trailer or something.
yeah.
And then
Or maybe
Logan.
Xbox has a thing as well on tomorrow, I think, and it was of course a Game Pass game, so maybe they got it.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that could be an easy clap. I think it's soon. I think we hear about it soon. I don't think this is going to be like a
They
silk
teased it
thing.
already. Same for Dragon's Dogma. They teased stuff as well.
Yeah. And then Logan, think of that new Ghost, a spinoff like Miles or a mainline entry. As we talked about earlier, I'm pretty sure it's a new thing. I'm pretty sure. I don't think.
Yeah, but
it's
they have to communicate that more. I think showing Jin in that trailer would work if it's like a sort of revelation situation. I think that would be kind of cool, because then it shows like, okay, it's still a continuation. I think right now it does, because Sony has kind of trained us to think like that, right? Lost Legacy from Uncharted, that was also completely separate story. Sure, it was still Uncharted, but that was a smaller game. Like they have not done these huge AAA sequels with a completely new character without any explanation. So I think they probably should ramp that up, but they wanted to get the excitement now, and I think that's very, very cool. I think this is like a good way forward for them, and it's exciting to have this time jump in particular, because otherwise you would be stuck in this time period of the first game, and now they can add a lot of new equipment and stuff. So awesome.
Yeah, it definitely helps with adding different dynamics, like
Yeah.
freaking rifles, for example. It's something you couldn't do before. And then Judson, thing for that, if they need live services that won't flop, make Killzone or Mag, and they could have made PlanetSide 3 when Sony still owned that IP. Yeah, but I mean, where's the 5v5 hero shooter? You have to have that, right? Like, you need it. Where will you have a playable trash can? These are the questions you're not asking.
Yeah,
man.
no,
Like,
it's important. And it's so cool that they then had like an orange trash can and a pink one.
yeah.
It's like, that was amazing.
If you really grind it, you get a green one.
Oh, what? I did not play enough.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you had to be pretty committed, so I don't blame you. What's the price of Ghost? I mean, it's going to be 70. Let's not expect anything too crazy. With all this, Jor, I just want to ask your opinion of one other game that we saw, just as somebody kind of more on the, I actually don't know if you're super into this or not, but I'm a big Monster Hunter stan.
Man.
Big, hard into the Monster Hunter stuff. And they showed us an extended look at some different levels, at all sorts of just pure chaos. What did you think of this as somebody that is more, maybe not like super into Monster Hunter?
I was. I played the PSP Freedom Unite a lot, and yeah, kind of fell off after that. I tried the 3, I think it was, on Wii with the underwater gameplay. That was not really really nice. I think this trailer was great. They needed this. Like I've been saying for the longest time, get away from the desert, because we've seen a lot of that already.
Yeah.
And them kind of like showcasing this new area while still showcasing all of the new, destructible environments, cutscenes that they're doing now. Like the world building is just really, really well done now. and not only in your hub area. So I think that's very excited. Like they really showed that, yeah, damn, this is a huge new mainline title after Rise, which was of course, yeah, the portable version, which was more traditional. So I'm excited for it. But yeah, 2 weeks after Shadows, like for me, usually playing an Assassin's Creed game means I'm living in that for at least a month. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna. Yeah, because this is another game that yeah, that's 100 hours easily if you
Oh
want to
yeah.
get a lot out of it. So, but I think the focus on the story and something hopefully gets more people in to try it, and I hope that you can easily or relatively easily without having to grind a lot, just focus on that main story, unlock all the areas, and then maybe yeah, grind out some weapons and stuff and armor sets if you want. So I'm curious what the progression will be like, if it will be urgent quest again, or if they're gonna yeah switch that up a bit. But at least the fights, and that was kind of what I was missing, but showing that sort of brand new monster with the whip and how the thunder then strikes, and like that really showed like a regular boss fight from a single player, like very curated single player boss fight. But we of course know that this monster can drop down on you in any map, and it will still feel like as if this was planned or something. So yeah, this trailer did get me, and I think what they showed here is gonna be yeah, it's amazing, and it's already very very high in the top wish list on Steam. So I'm sure that Capcom will have a huge hit on their hands, and it's launching actually a bit earlier than I expected. I thought they would go for like a more March date.
I was
But
expecting fall, frankly. I thought this was gonna slip like August, September, or something like that.
oh really?
And I mean, maybe it still gets delayed or something, but Capcom, everything I've seen of it, even when we saw it at Summer Game Fest for an extended like behind closed doors look where they were playing it in front of us, and actually the guy that introduced it, I forget if it was the director or who it was, but he was actually at SGF and playing the game, and it ran really really well even then. So I'm very excited for it. I'm optimistic. I do agree with the sentiment that they needed to show more than the desert stuff. And I think that this,
Yeah,
it looks really good.
And they still got many months ahead of them. Like they already showed more than Shadows did when they were still planning on a November launch. So yeah, people are gonna eat this up. It's gonna be, I think, one of the bigger launches of the year, and it's of course already in February. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I hope Aloy is playable again.
Or Geralt when they did the
Geralt was there. So,
yeah, all sorts of crossovers. Yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's gonna pop off. Capcom is just killing it recently, and you guys might not hear from me for about a month through most of March when this drops. So just a heads up.
So if you guys want to see anyone else in the podcast, let me know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Luke's been like viciously sick for like a month straight. It's wild. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Wild.
It's Monster Hunter Wilds, man. Yeah, I'm excited. But in terms of how they've set it up, just to answer one of the points you made in terms of accessibility and how they structure it and stuff, they've been pretty. It's interesting because they have designed this in a way where they want you to basically have more free form gameplay, where you load into a map like the water area, and then they don't want you to have to bother loading back and forth between these levels constantly. Every 30 minutes or so, they want you to be able to play for hours within one map. And so you can accept contracts while you're on, like basically on an expedition. Of course, setting up your camp and doing stuff like that. So it's going to be, I think, quite different in terms of like the moment to moment gameplay. Of going through the motions of quests and missions and hunts and stuff. So I'm really excited to see how they've structured it, because I get it, but I'm not super clear on how it would play out over multiple hours, But anywho, any closing thoughts for all of this, for the Shadows delay, for state of play, for all of this stuff?
I think the Ubisoft thing, we will probably hear more from maybe reporters, and I see Tom Henderson already posted the yeah, already posted the internal memo that Yves Gimmel sent. One of the things that's interesting is that he, for example, says, in today's ultra competitive market, players expect extraordinary experiences and ultra polished games on day one. We need to continue to improve when it comes to fine-tuning our games and delivering outstanding gameplay. This is what will enable Ubisoft to, again, create the best games in the industry. So yeah, they're really they really thought they could, like, they always have these metrics where they're like, okay, if we release it now, we might get this number, but then we sell more because it's out earlier or around this holiday season, whatever. And now they're like, okay, we can't do that anymore. We just have to launch a good game, and in the end, it's gonna be good. But yeah, I do think we haven't heard the last of this, but it's good that they're acting on it, and
Yeah, and
yeah, that's
the whole thing with Assassin's Creed, with EA, with any of these things that people often rightly are upset about is you hold their feet to the fire when they make mistakes. You call them out when they're doing something bad. You slap them on the head and go, stop it. But when they do something good, you should give them credit for that good choice. In this case, it sounds like delaying the game to polish it and to try, like, this I thought was really, really interesting, because he's kind of saying the quiet part out loud. This unusual decision at such, just to be clear, this is the Yves Guillemot leaked memo that he sent to staff. This unusual decision at such an advanced stage is motivated by our desire to offer an optimal experience from launch on all platforms and various PC configurations, and to remove the small frictions we typically use to address in post-launch title updates.
Yeah.
So acknowledging that they, like, there were many issues and things that they would launch the game with, they know about, but they're going to fix them later. And he's saying, like, we're not going to do that. Like, we have to remove those things. We have to fix them before the game launches and launch the best possible thing, which is good. That is a good thing to see. And I know it's easy to be like, well, they should have always been doing that. I agree, but they're making a change, which I think is a good change. It's still bizarre that it's coming at such a late stage. It's bizarre that seemingly lower level marketing teams didn't know that this was happening. It seems like this was a decision made in like an afternoon, which is crazy, but it's fascinating. I mean, it absolutely is fascinating. And I think it could evolve into one of the biggest stories of 2024, because this is a huge move from a company that really needs this to pop off, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, we're rethinking our season pass model for our upcoming games. So again, when Far Cry the new one gets announced or goes, they will probably maybe also give the first expansion away for free or whatever they try to do to get people to give more value instead of asking. Because it was kind of like, now looking at it, asking, and that was of course what people made fun of as well, like the enormous prices for Outlaws, $130 or for the Ultimate Edition, right? While they are not in the position to ask that from people, and they are fine. Yeah, they learned that the hard way. So good on them, I guess. And yeah, it will be fascinating. Like, again, the games nowadays, like, they have a regular edition and a deluxe edition for $10 more. That's it. That's all you need to do. Get people to buy your game first.
Yeah,
I
agree. That's the big thing, is you can don't take this as endorsement. You can afford to get greedy, because when you have like an overflow of goodwill with people, with customers, like if Valerian came out with, I know they're not making this, but if they came out with like a Baldur's Gate 4 and the hype is through the roof, and they announced a $150 version that comes with whatever bonuses of extra cosmetics or this or that, they could get away with it because they have so much extra goodwill. Even if they lose a little bit of it because it's a little slimy, they're fine. Right now, Ubisoft doesn't have any. If anything, they have negative. They have a negative balance. People are like, they hear Ubisoft and they start with a negative outlook. And so they have to do things to win that back. And I feel like they just haven't. And then, like Joe Raptor said, they kind of had to learn the hard way that you can't just do that. You can't just charge $130, $140, whatever, and people will throw it at you. Like, it burns goodwill, and if you don't have any goodwill, it just makes you look horrible, you know?
Yeah. Here, another interesting thing, and then we should end the podcast. But here, we will also use the extra time, so this for Shadows, to complement the experience with a few high-impact secondary quests that will bring even more. That will bring even more memorable. That will make them even more memorable. I think he's saying, but they already. So it's like they already know what they have to do to make things better, but it's the deadlines and the old school way of like, hey, we have to get this game out in the holiday. To be fair though, I do want to critique them, and that's the same with Avatar. Like, Valhalla was your last AAA Assassin's Creed game, and you had 4 years to deliver another one at the end of the year. And that's same with Avatar. They had like 5 years or something to make that game and launched with the movie, and they still did not get it out on time. So yeah, they have to really once again go back to the drawing board. But them saying we will make decisions at with the gamer at the heart of everything we do, that's kind of what they have to do now. Thank you.
It's like I can imagine the board meeting. What if we made games and the main driving factor in our decisions on how to make those games was whether or not players like it? What if we tried to make games that gamers want? Feedback? It's like, oh God. Yeah, I know. Actual last thing, and then I'll shut up, and then we can go. This is just fascinating because I think that this is pretty telling. Destin tweeted out this subset of the memo and briefing that went out for shareholders. In light of the recent challenges we face, we acknowledge the need for greater efficiency while delighting players. As a result, beyond the first important short-term actions undertaken, the executive committee, under the supervision of the board of directors, is launching a review aimed at further improving our execution, notably in this player-centric approach and accelerating our strategic path towards a higher performing model to the benefit of our stakeholders and shareholders. This, to me, sounds like layoffs.
Oh, they had a conference call, by the way. Oh.
Yeah, like an emergency one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This to me sounds like major restructurings. This sounds like middle management. They're going to reorganize, which means firing some people. And so this sounds to me like Ubisoft is going to try to really shake things up. Whether they do or not, who knows, but that's what that reads to me if you don't read it. Yeah, if you translate it from corporate jargon into English, that's what it sounds like to me. Crazy times, fam. Crazy times. Time will tell how it actually plays out. Just like with our poll of whether the Horizon remaster actually is a big change, settled at 60% no. It does not look significantly better. Only 40%.
Let's ask this
yes.
on my channel next time. I believe you, Chad, but come on, it looks so much better. I like you, Chad, but
well,
by the way, we like you even more if you review our show.
Sure would.
You can go do that on Apple Podcast and on the Spotify podcast. That would be awesome. So go there, leave a 5-star, and then we might reach the 300 next week when we come back to you to talk about the news. And it's super nice that Ubisoft gave us the exclusive to immediately talk about the Assassin's Creed Shadows delay.
Yeah, we timed it out that way very strategically. We got our checks. They paid us a lot of money to talk about this because, as you all know, we are bought and paid.
Yeah,
it's official.
We never say anything negative about them at all.
Yeah, Disney World was so fun. Yeah. Dude, I wish I got to go to Disney World. I didn't. I just played the game in my basement like a loser.
I think Disney World's made more money that day than Star Wars Outlaws, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, man. Disney. Oh, God. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you guys very, very much. You make our dreams a reality. We'll see you,
Leo. I don't want to see you anymore. I pre-ordered Dragon Ball Sparking. It's the final time that we see you. You have fun with your game. You'll
Banned.
probably be done with it in one day, and then you were like, I made the biggest mistake. I want to get back into the podcast. And then you go to the Look Live page and blocked. It's like you can't access it. It's your own fault.
Yeah. Well, when that happens, we'll welcome you back with open arms, but you'll have to admit that you were wrong.
But we have like a survey where we have to see if you're not too far gone, if you can still be saved.
You have to repent. Yeah, basically. Yeah, you pray to a statue of Aloy. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching and listening. Much love. We'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.
Bye.